Welcome to Bryer Showcase. I'm Bryer Cisneros and welcome back to another video. And folks, we've made it. This is the final episode of my top 100 favorite songs of all time miniseries. So by the time this video comes out, it is November 22nd, which is a Tuesday. So that means this series has been going on for exactly 1 month. I did not plan that. It just so happened to work out that way. But on top of that, this is actually an important video because this is the 100th video on the channel. That's right, including all the regular videos plus the shorts and those 2 live streams. All that comes together and we have 100 videos. So this is a pretty big deal. Pretty convincing the 100 video happening to be this one, but that's pretty cool. So thank you so much for sticking with this channel for about a year. We've only been doing this for less than a year, so pretty crazy. But anyhow, that's not important right now. What's important is talking about my top 10 favorite songs of all time. These are these songs I will never get tired of. I love all these songs. It was tough trying to decide which one is gonna be. Like, my number 1 was pretty set in stone, but everything else before that was the hard part. But I love all these songs almost equally, but there had to be a winner. So without further ado, let's start off with my number 10.
Know your eyes in the morning sun.
How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees. Here's another song from a movie. We have How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees, which was featured on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. The movie's okay, but the songs that were contained in that movie, just classics. I mean, some of the best disco of that era. Of course, you have Staying Alive, Night Fever, More Than a Woman. But my favorite song has always been How Deep Is Your Love. Just a gorgeous, very beautiful love song. And the Bee Gees, the 3 Gibb brothers, just some of the best pop songwriting of all time, at least in my opinion. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a slow ballad, and as you know, I'm a sucker for those, and this is definitely one of my favorites. It's not the only ballad, like slow ballad in my top 10, but we'll get to those shortly. But yeah, it's a great song. Barry Gibb, one of my favorite voices. Definitely, this is one he doesn't always sing in his falsetto. He kind of brings it down a bit, but when he does, it's always at the perfect moment. Like, there's nothing I would change from the song, and frankly, my top 10, there's probably not much I would change from any of these songs I'm going to be mentioning. But How Deep Is Your Love, definitely a classic one that I still love a lot. You don't need to, hopefully I've shown how deep my love is for this song. Hopefully I made sense there, but regardless, that's my number 10. So let's go on to my number 9.
Number 9.
Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd had to show up at some point, and I picked the song from my favorite Pink Floyd album, We Have the Wall, and Comfortably Numb is one of their classics. There were many Pink Floyd songs I could have chosen. Us and Them was pretty close, but for me, Comfortably Numb was the one I ended up going with because mainly due to the guitar solo, both of them actually. So David Gilmour, again, one of my favorite guitar players ever. I did, not that long ago, I did a live stream with Jason the Old Millennial and Adam from What the Gym, and we named our favorite British bands of all time, and Pink Floyd got brought up twice. And one thing I brought up was, especially with David Gilmour's playing, it's just how he plays his solos, because if we're gonna be honest, a lot of his solos are pretty simple, but it's just the way he plays it that just makes him so emotional. You can definitely feel the passion within every note. How he bends his strings is always crucial. But yeah, absolutely love the guitar tone. It's one of the greatest guitar solos ever. But even though I love the guitar solo, everything else is just as good. Like, I love how in the verses it starts out kind of very, very moody, kind of ominous, almost haunting sort of way. But then in the chorus, Roger sings the verses, but then David Gilmour, he sings the chorus, and it's kind of more uplifting, kind of dreamlike, but I like that contrast between those two sides. But yeah, I still get chills listening to this song. I mean, yeah, especially when you watch live videos of the song, whether it's with Pink Floyd or with David Gilmour solo. Just prog rock, just a prog rock epic, prog rock classic. But yeah, Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb is my number 9. So let's go on to number 8.
Sirens are screaming and the fires are howling way down in the valley tonight.
Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf. To one of my viewers, HPSOS, you were pretty close. You did guess Meatloaf, and I think you also said it was going to be my number 7, but you're close. It was number 8. So, Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf from this great album from 1977. I mean, Meatloaf, he definitely was a slow burn for me at first, because I bought a very crappy compilation CD, and I heard that and I was like, it's okay. But it wasn't until I finally bought this album here, that's when it finally clicked. Like, now I get it. And Meatloaf, rest in peace, we lost him earlier this year. Just a great vocalist, especially during this time. He was just on fire. And the title track is another 9-minute epic. But it's just, absolutely love it. I love the theatricality of it. I love how bombastic it is. It's very much sounds like you'll hear in theater, which Meatloaf he was in theater before he released this album. And of course, I should probably also mention Jim Steinman, who wrote the lyrics to all these songs on this album, and his lyrics are always fun to read. I know my mom is a big fan of Meatloaf, and it slowly rubbed off on me. But getting back to the song, again, like I said, it's 9 minutes, but there's just so much to it. It's like it has another great intro, and then great guitar work, of course, done by Todd Rundgren, who also produced this album, and he's just absolutely killer on the track, especially during the middle section where you hear a motorcycle, but that's actually Todd literally just doing that sound effect on guitar, and it just blends so seamlessly into the main solo. And yeah, it just keeps building, and then you get to the motorcycle crash, which I didn't mention the lyrics that much in this episode, but this is basically a motor crash song. So guy meets a girl, goes off on his motorcycle, then he crashes it and dies, which is kind of morbid, but that's just the juxtaposition, I guess. But yeah, the guy dies, and then he's just saying his final words. And when Meatloaf gives those 4 Bat Out of Hells, especially when he gets to the very last one, and it's a terrific song. It's very high for a reason. So yeah, Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf is my number 8. So let's go on to number 7. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police. Coming in at number 7, we have The Police with Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, which is the second song off Ghost of the Machine. Yep, it's my favorite Police song. There was just something about it that I drew to immediately. Like, of course, I knew a couple songs prior. I knew Every Breath You Take, and I knew Roxanne, but this is the song where I was immediately hooked. Like, I remember I first heard it and I was like, what is this? I love this. And what really drew me in was just the intro of the song. And, I'll show a little bit. Again, I'm not that good, but we'll give it a go. So, fair warning, the bass is not plugged in, so if you can't really hear it that well, then I apologize for that. So, starts in G, and it just starts with this little ascend, and it's all done on the bass, so it goes like something like this. And it goes back. And while the bass is doing that, you have the piano or keyboard, Then you have Stuart Copeland with his hi-hat action. Then you have Andy Summers doing a little guitar little lick. And then all that is working around just the simple ascend. Something like that. Yeah, not that good. I'm working on it though. But yeah, once the chorus hits, it's just absolutely infectious, so catchy. And let me just fix this real quick. There we go. It's so catchy, so memorable, and Sting, you know, he's not one of my favorite singers, but on this song in particular, he really shines on this song. This is probably my favorite vocal performance he's done on the song, and he's done pretty good. He's done some pretty good ones, but this song in particular, I gravitate to the most, and it all just comes together, just absolutely a well-crafted song, just like so catchy, so many hooks to it that yeah, it had to be number 7 on my list. So that is number 7. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police. Let's go on to my number 6.
When I find myself in times of trouble,
Let It Be by The Beatles. So of course, the Beatles had to appear at some point in this list. And while they didn't make the top 5, I still absolutely love this song. This is probably my favorite Beatles song. And again, they've made countless classics. And I wouldn't argue if somebody had a different Beatles song, but for me, this has always been my absolute favorite. Very emotional song for me, especially if you know the story. Of course, it's well documented, but of course Paul was kind of stressed out. You know, the Beatles weren't getting along that well. And so he went to sleep one night and he had a dream where his mom actually visited him, and her name was Mary. And you know, she just told him it's going to be okay, just let it be. And Paul woke up and felt a little better, and that inspired him to write this song. And yeah, like I said, this song is pretty emotional for me because, you know, my grandma, her name was Mary, and she passed away. And so whenever I hear the song, I always think of her, you know, especially the opening lyric, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. So yeah, because of that, this song had to be pretty high. Again, I know it didn't make the top 5, but the other 5 songs also have great value to me, and I love them as well. But again, it was very tough. But let it be. Before I move on, a couple more things I want to say. One of my favorite Paul McCartney vocal. Love his vocals on this one. Again, the piano intro is just so classic, and even George Harrison's guitar solo. And I know there's a few versions of it out there, but of course the one that's featured on the 2009, it's just fantastic. One of George's best, I think. And you know, some people are mixed on the Phil Spector additions, you know, with the orchestra and the band. But to me, I've always liked those additions. I think they sounded really good, especially on Let It Be. I think to me it adds to the emotion, that weight. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Let It Be by the Beatles. My number 6. Let's go to number 5.
It doesn't hurt me.
Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Or if we're going by the full title, Running Up That Hill, parentheses, A Deal with God, end parentheses. So Kate Bush had to appear because, you know, as you know, I've become such a big fan of hers in recent years. Absolutely adore her, one of my favorite singers ever, just in general. Just absolutely love her style, so artistic, so unique. So yeah, she had to be pretty high. And you know, Running Up the Hill is probably her most well-known song, of course, especially now because of Stranger Things, which, you know, the song's not up here because of Stranger Things. I've always loved this song. But there's just something about it that I've always gravitated towards. You know, this is actually one of her more tamer songs because, you know, especially in terms of her vocals, because she's usually known for going very all over the place with her vocals. But this one, she keeps it pretty straightforward. And musically, it's also pretty tame compared to other songs she's done prior to this, because you know, it's mainly a synth heavy, lots of keyboards on it, Then you have that driving rhythm that goes through the whole song. You know, and that little keyboard riff there, yeah, so catchy, so again, so memorable. And lyrically, of course, Kate Bush is known for her very unique lyrics, but I really do like the concept of this song. You know, you're probably like, running up that hill, a deal with God. What does that mean? Well, the song is actually about, you know, about this character. We don't know, it could be a female. I'm, well, assuming it's female, but basically it's this character who's kind of pleading to God, like, how about one day we have men and women swap places for a little bit, just so we can have an understanding of one another. Because, you know, and this can be interpreted as a relationship song, because, you know, in relationships, you know, it can go, doesn't really matter who it is, but there's always going to be some issues in terms of understanding a person's point of view. So Kate's like singing about, what if we swap roles for a day, or swap places, and get to experience each other's, you know, be in each other's shoes for a little bit, just so we understand what they're feeling, why they do a certain thing that they do. And I just really enjoyed that concept. So yeah, so again, number 5, Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill. If you have not heard the song, then please go listen to this song. Again, Kate Bush deserves all the recognition she's getting, especially now. So it's great that she got to have that second chance in the spotlight. So there you have it. Let's go on to my number 4. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. So here's another 80s classic. We have Tears for Fears, pretty well known, kind of, I don't know what genre you put them in, but they're just very unique sort of 80s music. I feel like I've talked about this album not that long ago, but regardless, yep, this is a great album, by the way. Songs from the Big Chair, highly recommend it. Again, great 80s pop, definitely very unique 80s pop, I must say. But the song I'm talking about is the third song on here, which is Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which is one of their big hits. And another one of those songs where I can say is perfect. Pretty much my top 10 are all perfect, but this one is also just spectacular. Love how it sounds. I love that opening guitar. I don't know if you call it a riff, maybe, because I'm not that familiar with guitar terminology, but guitar riff, guitar chord progression, something like that, like an arpeggio sort of thing. But I just like that intro, and then goes to the main keyboard riff, you know, da 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 da. And then you have the bass is kind of going like dum 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 dum, like very simple, but again, it has a real driving rhythm to it. And then you have the lead singer, which is this one right here. They both sing, but this one here is the lead vocals. Let me look up the singer's name again. I always forget I always forget their names. Kurt Smith. He was the one who sung the vocals on the song. And yeah, and while both of them have very similar sounding vocals, like there's some differences, but anyhow. But yeah, lyrically, another song that I really relate to. I think now especially it really does fit in today's climate. You know, everybody wants to rule the world. You know, everybody's fighting against each other. You know, trying to get power and all that. And again, that's something we're seeing a lot in recent times. So this song is still pretty relevant, I must say. But yeah, even nothing else to say before I move on, but again, the guitar, there's some great guitar work as well. Again, I just love the tone of it. It's nothing shreddy or anything, it's nothing crazy, but it just fits the song so well, and I love the tone on the guitar here. That yeah, it's just phenomenal, like just fantastic stuff. So number 4, Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Now let's head to the top 3. So here it is, number 3.
I may not always love you.
God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. So now we go to another one of my favorite albums of all time. We're going to Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. Yep, this was another one of those albums that got me through high school. Yep, absolutely adore this album. But of course, God Only Knows is my pick. Yep, it's one of the Beach Boys' best songs, and Paul McCartney has said it's one of his favorite songs as well, and I think he's also said it's one of the best songs ever written, and I wouldn't argue with that. It's just another phenomenal song. Of course, Brian Wilson with his arrangements and his production. I mean, he's a genius for a reason. Like I've always had a great admiration for Brian Wilson as a producer. Just that's like, obviously, I'm not that good I'm not a good sound engineer, so I probably wouldn't do well in that field. But especially if you look up the Pet Sound sessions, like you hear all the studio chat, and I've always admired just how Brian is he's just like, he knows what he wants, and he does a great job at directing all the musicians, and that's something I've took inspiration of, because I wanted to be a director, and I took great inspiration from him, just how he directed people. And I know producing and directing like videos or stage plays, like those things are completely different fields, but I've always liked Brian's sort of style when it comes to directing people. But back to the song itself, like, what has not been said about the song? Just again, well crafted, just the musicianship by the Wrecking Crew, just immaculate. Then you have Carl Wilson, who has lead vocals here, and he sounds great as well. Brian's always said that Carl had one of the best voices, and he definitely made the right choice of having Carl sing lead vocals, because he just sounds so beautiful here. And of course, we all know the Beach Boys for their harmonies, and so get a ton of it, especially towards like the middle section and then towards the end. But yeah, it's well crafted, such a endearing classic, and a song I will always love. So number 3 is God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. So now we head to my number 2.
Don't lose your way with each passing day.
If We Hold On Together by Diana Ross. Sadly, I don't have this song on CD, but I do have the movie it was featured on VHS, so that's what I'll show. So again, another plug-in, but again, I did another live stream with Jason and Adam, and we did our top 10 favorite animated movies of all time, and spoilers, this was my number 1. So The Land Before Time is my favorite animated film of all time. Again, absolutely love this film. Grew up watching it a ton growing up. And one of the things that I've always loved was not just the story, the animation, and also the characters, but I've always looked forward to was the end credits. And during the end credits, they play this wonderful song sung by Diana Ross, and it was written by James Horner, which we all know as a wonderful composer. Rest in peace to him. And then Will Jennings also assists in the songwriting. And yeah, it's a beautiful song. Like, that's another song I've always looked back and I always have great nostalgia for. And even if I didn't have nostalgia, I would still put this song pretty high, because it's just a fabulous song. Just how it's put together, the orchestra is well arranged. Diana, she definitely sounds incredible in the song. I've always loved her singing, so yeah, very good stuff. And I wish I had more to say, but it's actually not much to say. Again, it's another slow ballad, but again, I love ballads, so yeah, it's number 2. But again, might be another odd choice, because Diana Ross has other very well-known songs, and of course she had her work with the Supremes, so I don't know how many people know this song in particular, but if you have not, then this is definitely a song you should check out, especially if you like that sort of like slow ballads, and especially if you heard the preview that I do between every before I talk about each song. Like if that little segment was enough to get you interested, then that's great by me, because this song deserves more attention. So If We Hold On Together by Diana Ross from The Land Before Time. Yep, number 2. So now the moment we've all been waiting for. Time to unveil my number 1 song of all time. So let's have a drum roll. My number 1 favorite song of all time is
Empty spaces, what are we living for?
The Show Must Go On by Queen.
I guess we know.
Jason, if you're watching this, you were the closest one. You got the artist right, just not the song. So, The Show Must Go On by Queen. Of course, it came from their 14th studio album, Innuendo, which was the last album to have Freddie on vocals in his lifetime. Of course, they released another album after that, but this was the last album released before his death. And again, as a lot of you know, hopefully you know, Queen is my all-time favorite band of all time. I've always loved them. They've pretty much started everything for me, so I had to get Queen at number 1. But, you know, there's tons of songs. I know Bohemian Rhapsody. I know that's a song that many people probably would have expected me to choose. And I do love that song. But, you know, there's other songs I like. I actually do like. I like more. I know that's surprising, but I love Bohemian Rhapsody. But this song in particular, I've always resonated with very much. But yeah, other songs I could have chosen, like Somebody to Love, you know, Radio Gaga, that's another good one. Even some more deep cuts like The Millionaire Waltz. What else? A Liar. Like some of those songs I could have chosen, but The Show Must Go On. Again, the message behind this song, I've always looked up to it, you know. And the reason why I look up to it, especially when you hear the backstory, because as we know, as I mentioned already, Freddie was basically on his deathbed at this point. Like he was just struggling. And you know, AIDS was really taking its toll. He had a hard time standing. And Brian May, he was the one who wrote The Show Must Go On. And when he was writing it, he went to Freddie. He was like, I don't know, man. I think this is a bit too much for you. But Freddie says, and forgive me, I'm gonna swear, I'll fucking do it, darling. And then he just downs some vodka, goes into the studio, and then just tears it up. And reportedly, he did it in one take. I don't know if that's true, but I like to believe that's true, because, you know, it's Freddie Mercury, so I don't expect anything less. But regardless, he just absolutely destroys the vocals, and absolutely spectacular. Even in his final days, he just gave it his all. So it's fantastic, and musically it's also so good. Has that great keyboard intro. Then it just builds and builds until finally you can get to the chorus where Freddie gives that first big note, and he's just like, yes, just awesome job. And Brian May, he also does one of my favorite solos he's ever done on the song. And you know, the show must go on. You know, lyrically it's just about, you know, despite everything coming down on you, when everything's just pulling you back, you just gotta keep going. You know, that's always something I've always thought of. Like, life is basically a show, and you know, you can either stop the show or you can do like what most people do. They have the show keep going. The show must go on. Even when things go horribly wrong, the show has to keep moving. And that's, to me, that's what life is. Just a show that you need to keep moving forward. So yeah, this one means a lot to me. Another one of those songs I get emotional listening to, especially towards the end, especially since it is the last song on the album. So to many people at that time, that was the last song they would hear Freddie sing. Again, they would do Made in Heaven, but you know, that's different. So yep, number 1, The Show Must Go On by Queen. Yeah, it's my favorite song of all time. So there you have it. That is all 100 of my favorite songs of all time. Again, this took a whole month to do, but I think it was worth it, and hopefully some of you learned a little bit, one or two things. I'm gonna keep rolling. I know I fumbled there, but I'm not gonna do this again. But yeah, hopefully you learned a thing or two about me. Hopefully you'll check out all these songs that I've mentioned that you've not heard of before. And you know, thank you so much for watching this entire series from the beginning. And it means a lot to me, especially a lot of you who are commenting and just giving your thoughts on the songs as I went along. And a couple of you are actually participated. Some of you were sharing some of your favorite songs, which is great. So maybe you've introduced me to a couple songs I haven't heard before. So that's fantastic. So again, thank you so much for watching this. I think I'll take a break for now. Like, this was a pretty good series, but I think I'll take a little break. Thanksgiving's coming up, so I think time's right to take a little small break. So probably next week I'll probably return. But until then, again, I'll say it one more time. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, then please give it a like. If you are new, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now.